been a little bit odd just in the way things have fallen out. So we're going to jump right into our guest speaker for the night, and then at the end of their presentation, they'll have a few minutes for questions. After that, we'll go ahead and talk about club business from there. I'd like to welcome Evan and Matt from Tread Lightly.
So hi, I'm Evan. I am the National Stewardship Program Manager for Tread Lightly. You guys got that? Is that better? Alright. So I'm the National Stewardship Program Manager for Tread Lightly. Tread Lightly is a natural nonprofit. We were created in 1985 to support motorized recreation and help sustain public land access, specifically here in Region 4, which is the Intermountain region of the United States. So, I'll tell you a little bit about that. Matt will give you our bios about who we are just as individuals. Then I'll tell you about our history, a little bit about our stewardship programming and our education programming, how you guys get involved, what we have going on here in Utah this year, and then I'll leave it open for some questions. Does that all sound good? All right, cool. So I'm Evan. Like I said before, I grew up here in Davis County, actually. I've been working for Tread Lightly for about 10 years, so I've been around for a little while. Recognize some of your guys' faces from events and whatnot. But yeah, my dad was an aircraft mechanic up here on Hill Air Force Base, and we were always around vehicles. So I was working on some truck or some car. We built a dune buggy. Just kind of we're an outdoor, I would say, hunt, fish, and family. So we really embraced public land access, and it meant a lot to me growing up, and kind of shaped my life. Today I have a career in it, and so I feel blessed to be able to do that and really affect public lands. As a long-term club like the Utah ATV Association. You guys have a lot of history in giving back to public lands. That's one of the beautiful things about clubs, and I think that's something that people don't understand. How much just regular people give back to public lands and really sustain recreation. And so, big shout out to you guys in the club for do that. That's been a big part of my life here in Utah. I'm proud to be a Utah native and proud to have some work here. So, a little bit about me. I'll turn it over to Matt here. He's our executive director, and tell you about him.
Thanks again for you guys for making time for us. Like Evan said, I'm Matt. I'm the executive director of Tread Lightly. Former Utah resident. I actually moved last year down to Arizona, and that was kind of a strategic move on Tread Lightly's part. One of the things that we started to realize, I guess not long after COVID started, was if you call the Forest Service or you call the Bureau of Land Management and say, "I'm here to help, what do you need me to do?" Do you know what they say? They say nothing. So what we made the decision to do was actually start to spread out our team. So I've moved down to Arizona. Our assistant director is in Wyoming. Evan and some of our other team members are here in Utah. We have team members on the Washington and Oregon border. We have a program manager in Nevada, and we have a program manager in the Southeast in the Carolinas. We're currently hiring a full-time position in Arizona. So we've expanded our team by about 50%. In the last year, just because of the amount of work that's existed. But what that move has helped us to do, we've got people on our team that are on the trails regularly, and rather now than saying what can we do, we're saying, hey, there's an issue on this trail in this location. We already have funding, we already have volunteers, all I need from you is yes. That has been life-changing when it comes to dealing with the land managers. To give you a flavor, in 2020, the largest number of projects we had done in a year was 22-ish.
Yeah.
So last year, despite everything in the world still being a little crazy, we did 50 projects last year nationwide. And Evan told me that we're going to do 100 this year, so I'm only going to do that. But it's awesome to be part of. My background is heavily on the automotive and automotive aftermarket side. I spent almost 16 years working for the Goodrich brand. Had a huge passion for off-road motorsports. Have raced all over the place from Baja to Vegas to Reno. But the biggest thing for me when the opportunity to join Tread Lightly came was I wanted other people to be able to enjoy the same things that I was able to enjoy. Whether that's my kids, my grandkids, whatever it is. This is the public land that we have is an amazing resource. And it's an amazing opportunity, and I want us to be able to keep that and be able to use that for years to come. So thank you again for having us, and I'll pass it back to Evan.
All right. So who is Tread Lightly? So we were created in 1985 by the U.S. Forest Service right here in Ogden, Utah. So our offices for about the last decade were right in the old, on 25th Street, in the old historic post office. So I mean, tread lightly the ethic and you know, our whole programming was really created right here in the valley, right? And it's for motorized recreation. You know, again in the 80s, kind of as you saw the increase of motorized impacts on public lands. You know, really kind of the three-wheeler days. You guys remember those days? You know, you had a lot of three-wheelers popping up. That was when the tread lightly message became really relevant to the U.S. Forest Service. So it started out as just a PSA, you know, just a public service announcement talking about motorized recreation. You can see some of our old signage still if you go to the Snow Basin Trailhead. I think it's the Ark North Trailhead. You still see some of our old signs like from the 80s and 90s up there, which is just kind of a cool piece of history. But you know, as PSAs do, you know, that it kind of ran its time, but it had a lot of steam behind it. So, you know, the Forest Service decided at that point it'd be a good idea for us to transition into a 501c3 nonprofit to better amalgamate public and private funding. So to bring private funding for the motorized industry into public land projects. And so in 1990 we transitioned from just a PSA to a full 501c3. And we've been working ever since, you know, to support public land access projects all across the country in that capacity. We do that through a number of ways. You know, we're a membership-based organization, so we have members, you know, not unlike your guys' association. We're about 3,000 strong last I checked, and those numbers have been growing like exponentially the last year, really ever since that came on. So we have a lot of members all over the country. You know, they really help support our programming and our funding. I'll kind of talk about how we affect positive work and put resources on the ground here in a second. But you know, our history has really been rich here in Utah and in the Intermountain region, which the way that tread lightly breaks down the country is the same way that the U.S. Forest Service does. So if you were to pull up, you know, U.S. Forest Service region map, you would see that there's 8 regions in the state or in the country. We're in region 4, so that's all of Utah, all of Nevada. It's kind of I call it the cool part of Wyoming, so the western third of Wyoming, and then the lower 2/3 of Idaho are considered the Intermountain region. So, you know, our history is really there within those 12 forests, and with the U.S. Forest Service originally, and very shortly after partnered with the BLM, and then kind of our private partners started to kind of fall in line after that. So yeah, we work to affect that positive change through our stewardship programming. So that's actually doing work on the ground. When we say stewardship, what that means, that's like our trail access and advocacy type of work. So that could be anything from building a bridge to putting up a sign to, you know, fixing water damage on a trail, you know, all of its motorized infrastructure-based type of work. You know, it's really to fill, you know, a backlog of maintenance that the typically federal and state agencies have, right? You know, so I just heard a back statistic today that, you know, it's projected nearly 50% of the U.S. Forest Service budget is going to be spent fighting fires, right? So, as it is recreation, it's a very small percentage of the budget, you know, from the U.S. Forest Service, which was originally not created to manage recreation. You guys know that. You know, the U.S. Forest Service wasn't created to manage recreation; it was created to manage range. You know, so cattle ranging and timber harvest. So recreation is like a second thought to the U.S. Forest Service, right? So we're always trying to catch up for budgetary reasons and for infrastructure reasons. You know, and it's a challenge. So that's why it's so important to have associations, clubs, you know, people, just individuals that want to do the right thing. And tread lightly is kind of a place where we can get together, you know, really focus that impact to the places and the people who want to do that. Let's see, what else about our history today? You know, our offices are here in northern Utah and in North Salt Lake, sorry. And yeah, we have a great staff, about 10 people, and we're continuing to grow. As any good nonprofit, you know, everybody wears a couple feathers in their hat. So my official title is the National Stewardship Manager, but you know, I'm also the Region 4 Program Coordinator. So if you guys have work here within Utah that you want to get done, if you just need resources for it, you guys can get a hold of me. I'll leave my cards back on the table. You know, I'll talk. Obviously, you can get me at evan@treadlightly.org or just go on our Tread Lightly website. You can find my information there. But you know, I want to affect positive change here and continue our long history of good work. And really, I want to be. Tread Lightly just wants to be a support mechanism for your guys' club, you know, to keep doing the good work you guys have been doing over your club history. So yeah, that's a little bit about that. Any questions about history? No, pretty cool. Let's talk about the Tread principle. So that's really what our mission and our ethic of Tread Lightly is. You know, this is really what drives kind of the impact that we have for people. So we base our education messaging off of what we call the TREAD principles. So it's 5 tenets. We believe that if recreationists, especially motorized recreationists, will embed into their type of, into their daily routine of recreation, we're going to have better sustainable access and just better opportunities to recreate in public lands. So those are the TREAD principles, right? So T, it's a what do we call it? Acronym, right? First letter is T, so TREAD's the acronym, travel responsibly. So it's a couple ways we can travel responsibly, or like, know your vehicle, right? Tell someone where you're going and when you're going to come back. Have a map. Know your own capabilities, right? Those are all good ways you can travel responsibly. Understand kind of what public lands are, where you're going to go, who is the land manager there. There's often kind of some different rules and some different regs that you should be following if you're on BLM or on the Forest Service. Like, are you looking up, the motorized vehicle use map if you're on the Forest Service, or you have to kind of research some travel management if you're on a BLM district. And those are very important, I think, tenets for people to understand when they're participating in motorized recreation. So that's T, travel responsibly. R is respect the rights of others. And I think our assistant director said it really good today to my trail crew guys. This is about being a good citizen, being a good ambassador for what motorized recreation is and what your club stands for. So, really simple ways to do that, right? Like, slow down around campgrounds, around people. Don't be, if you're say camping in a dispersed recreation place, maybe tone the music down a little bit, or don't be in that party vibe. If you have a close neighbor, just be a great ambassador for public lands and the other people around you. And specifically for motorized recreation, we're held to a higher standard. We're easily demonized, and we're always losing access. And I know it's not typically people that are in clubs and groups like you guys have, but for other folks out there that just don't know, get involved in a club, learn some ethics and use these principles to sustain that access. So, respect the rights of others, and just remember that you're not the only one out there. Everyone has an opportunity to recreate the public lands the way that they choose. And, so let's just give them their individual freedom and be good neighbors, right? No matter how they treat us, we're going to treat them better. So that's respect the rights of others. Okay, let's go to educate yourself. Right? Tons of ways to educate yourself, right? Again, we talked about like land management agencies. Who are these land management agencies? What kind of vehicles are allowed in the place that you're riding? The list goes on and on for ways to educate yourself about what public lands are. You can also educate yourself about how to be more involved in one trip by Zoom or just one your local. If there's a trail system that you enjoy and you want to take part in that management of that trail system, and ensure that public land stays open to our type of recreation. The next one is avoid sensitive areas, right? Pretty self-explanatory, but I mean, you'd be surprised how many incursions every year we see into wilderness areas, which motorized recreation is not allowed in the wilderness area, right? Or a big one for us recently has been, archaeological and paleontological resource damage. So that's something that we kind of always have to pay attention to. And really, all it means for us is just stay on the trail, just keep our tires on the trail, right? And that's going to help us avoid sensitive areas. And the last one, and I think the most important one for me, is the national stewardship managers do your part, right? So let's get back to places that you are. And, I talked about how much public lands meant for me, and I feel like I'm forever paying back this debt, that it's giving me this life, right? And some people look at, like a trail and they see just a road, and to me, like, that could be someone's life story, right? So it's important to do your best to get back to this place. It doesn't have to be a big impact, just the little things that you do when no one's looking, that makes a huge difference in what public lands are and, how the public perceives who you are as a community. All make sense? So that's the TREAD principles of some of our education campaigns. Let's talk about the stewardship programs that we have going on. So we have some really great stewardship programs. We have a lot of really cool partners that are on board right now. I think one of my favorites is our BF Goodrich Outstanding Trails program. So this is a grant program designed for individuals or clubs like you guys yourselves to apply for stewardship funding through Tread Lightly. So you can jump on our website, treadlightly.org, go to the BFG tab and apply for a grant. Typically they're around $500, but depending on what the grant is, it could go up from there in value, I guess, or resources that we can give you. So check that out, apply. BFG has always been fantastic partner for Tread Lightly, long-term partner. They do a ton back in the to support a company that supports public lands, definitely support PMG. So our next program is kind of similar style, but it's a different funding partner. So it's our partner Quadratech. I don't know if you guys have heard of them. They're an online Jeep parts distributor, one of the biggest in the country. They've been a partner with Treadlight since 1992. They've always supported our stewardship programs. They're doing a program this year to support Treadlight in a project in every state. So we're going to do 50 projects in the next 2 years. Unfortunately, our first project was in Utah during Eastern Youth Park, but if you guys are aware of any other projects, you got some partner clubs that want to do stuff, around the Great Basin, like we're happy to have you get involved with that. Again, just lead them to me or send them to our website. Check out the Quadratech 50 program. Yeah, we'll get some resources in your hands, and that could be for a bunch of things. Volunteer support, help get you out to the trail site, obviously supplies, you pay for food for your volunteers if you've got a volunteer group doing stuff, all that stuff's doable in these types of grants, and we're excited to see those opportunities. The last one I want to talk about is called TLC, so it's Treadlight Cares. So this is kind of our, I would say, unrestricted funding grant program. So, no matter what type of recreation it is, motorized, non-motorized, this is an opportunity for you to just share that with us. We'll find resources that will help support that program and bring people together to work to better that infrastructure projects in the United States through motorized recreation. So that's called TLC. You guys can find one on our website as well. So that's our history. We're not a stewardship program or our education programs. We talk a little bit about the TRED principles. We have a formal education program that's called the TRED Trainer program. So if you guys are interested in kind of, maybe doing a little bit more, like you want to teach some people about how to be responsible users, what the TRED principles are, maybe do a little outreach type of stuff, or do formal education with youth, then I suggest you check out our TRED Trainer program. So that's a formal education program. It's been funded by the Federal Highway Administration in the past, and it's our trainer program. So it's designed to just create ambassadors and educators that want to teach and support public land access and sustainable motorized recreation. So that's Treadlight in a nutshell. You guys have any questions or spark anything that you guys want to go over in a little more depth? Feel good? Matt, do you have anything you want to add? Yeah.
So Evan did a really great job of talking about a lot of things that we have going on. I think one of the couple interesting things for this group, we work with a lot of industry partners. Evan referenced Quadratech and DFG. The list that we've added in the last 2 years is pretty extensive. We've added the Bronco Wild Fund. So that is Ford's stewardship program. For every single Bronco that's sold, there's a dollar amount that goes to that fund. And it's to be used strictly for stewardship projects on public lands. We did 6 projects in the last year that were all funded by Ford. We have Nissan involved. And I'm going to talk about a couple things that are probably a little sensitive to people. So one of the big things that we hear regularly is, what about the advertising that the power sports manufacturers and the automotive manufacturers do that shows stuff that is not responsible and is damaging public lands? I get probably 5 to 10 emails a week about those. Did you see Toyota's Instagram? Did you see Polaris's Instagram? We address most of those right back to the manufacturer, usually very specifically. One that's popped up recently, as I look over there at Jacobs, is pictures of side-by-sides parked in tall grass. It's an issue. We've brought it up. We've brought it up numerous times. Trying to get a company the size of, pick the company, Polaris, Can-Am, whatever, to make that change. It's substantial, but we're going to keep chirping in their ear about it as long as that keeps happening. Because those are the things. Again, what's going to probably happen over here is we're going to have damage over here, and they're going to shut down that trail for a period of time. I don't want that. None of you out there want that. So we'll continue to work through with those industry partners to have that impact. The other thing is just them giving back funding to support all of the public lands that these machines are operating on. we want those public lands to stay open and continue to do that. So the other thing that I'll bring up, I think everybody always has the question when you start talking about nonprofits is how much money is really going to the work. So I can tell you from Tread Lightly standpoint, we are in like the 85 to 90 cents on every dollar goes either to educational efforts or stewardship efforts. If you look at most nonprofits don't touch that number. They're not remotely close to that number. We have made, Evan referenced our offices in North Salt Lake. We moved last October from a really nice office space, but all of us were asking, why do we have this office space? We're in a much smaller office space now. We've got a better, more functional space. It's got some warehouse space that we have a lot of tools and a lot of stuff that we need to store. We had a separate storage unit before that. So the message I want you guys to hear is we're trying to do everything possible with that funding that we have, whether that's from members, individual members, member clubs, our industry partners. The other thing I'll bring up is everybody always has questions about state grants or federal grants and how those work. Currently, we have 23 active grants that Tread Lightly is working with. To be honest, they're a royal pain. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort to keep track of the information. It's multiple pages to apply for it. Then you got to follow up with it and explain everything that you're doing with it to make sure that you're on the up and up, or you're not going to get the next one that you asked for. The other thing that a lot of people don't know about state grants or federal grants is they all have a match requirement to them. So I'm going to use an example outside of the state of Utah. So in the state of California, there's California OHMDR, which is the OHV portion of state parks. So in California, if you get a grant from OHMDR, there is a 25% match to a grant. So if I get a grant for $40,000 in California, I have to come up with $10,000 from membership or from industry partners to receive that $40,000. California is also fun because they're one of the few states that doesn't allow us to use in kind, such as volunteer hours or product that might be provided by somebody. It is straight cash that we have to come up with to get that grant matched. So some people ask us about the memberships or the industry partners, like, what's that money for? That's what it's for. It's part of that match, and it's part of what helps us, continue to be able to do the work that we're doing. Did that prompt any more questions? I know sometimes those are hot topics that I hit. So Evan and I are happy to answer any questions you may have.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point, Bill. You guys, I want you to know, if you guys are applying for grants, RTPs or FIGs or other state funding here, and you need assistance in that, I'm happy to help. I write those all the time. I've been doing it for 10 years. We're highly successful, like Matt said. So it really looks great if we're partnering, as an industry. And I think that's another big thing to take away is, what is a motorized recreationist? From this talk, I think that's kind of my charge as the national stewardship manager, is really blur those lines of what motorized recreation is. I hate to see us all segmented into these little categories, right? When we have such a big uphill battle to fight to sustain access for all types of recreation. And it baffles me that we have people who consider themselves not motorized recreationists when I meet them 20 miles down a dirt road somewhere. No matter what type of recreation you're participating in after, likely drive on a dirt road to get there in some kind of vehicle. So, let's be ambassadors of what motorized recreation is. Let's bring people into our community, and I think your guys' association has always done a great job of that, really highlight clubs here in the state, just supporting the Tread Lightly ethic and being great members and participants in recreation here in the state of Utah.
You talked about Tread Lightly quite a bit. What can we do to support you?
Yes, great question, Bill. I'm glad you asked. So obviously the grant programs are a cool way to get involved, and really affect positive change in a place that you care about. We have a ton of projects going on here in Utah this year. You can find them on our website. Obviously, you can get a hold of me. That's probably the easiest way if you guys want to just be active in some projects. I'm going to be posting a few in the coming weeks, happening at stands Stansbury, up in the Heber Camas Ranger District, so that's like, Camas area, mostly around Strawberry Reservoirs where we're working, south of Highway 35. We're doing a bunch of work up there. I can always use volunteers and people just want to come. We have fun, but we do work too. I make sure everybody gets involved and it's stuff that's close to home for you guys. If you're in the Salt Lake Valley, we're going to work in Stansbury's as well. That'll all be coming up here, kind of late summer, fall time. So I'd love if you guys just want to come out as volunteers and just kind of see what it's like, doing a public land project, interfacing with the land managers a little bit, maybe get to know some of the local land managers here, in the Salt Lake Ranger District and Camas, places I'm sure you guys all ride and play in, and just get to know their names and be involved at that level, kind of see how trail systems are really managed, right? So yeah, yes sir.
What type of work do you do
Yeah,
when you're
great
out there in
question.
the field?
What's
I mean,
that?
what type of work do you do in the field? Are you doing trail maintenance, putting up
Yes, sir.
fences,
Fantastic
signs?
question.
What?
All of that. So we've built bridges, opening new trails that have been closed for years through legislative processes. Now we're 501c3, so we can't lobby or litigate. But what we can do is we can, supply resources for informational kiosks or new supplies that need to maintain trail access. So it can be anything from pounding carcinite signs, carcinite is, to building a bridge. Anything in between there, as long as it affects positive, polarized access to public lands, those are the type of projects we want to do. A lot of them are kind of kiosk, education signage, builds, infrastructure. So it could be parking, dispersed recreation, camping, fire ring type of installation, trash disposal. Gosh, a few years ago we did 170 tons of trash in a year, so it's just ridiculous. Now, a lot of that actually was from Arizona, not from Utah. but yeah, any of that that's all stuff that we can do. It can be a complex type of project. We have a lot of funding partners, state, federal, nonprofit, all working together. So from that level, like some of the projects we have going on in Sand Hollow, we're doing new pit hoods, to very basic trail cleanups like we'll have up here in Fort Canyon and the Salt Lake Ranger District this fall. Yes, sir.
So if we have an idea of where to put a bulk toilet, can we work with you in getting the toilet in and pay for it?
Yes, sir.
Great question, and I was just going to jump on that. So we had a group at Sand Hollow that approached us and said, hey, we find grant writing difficult sometime, and we said, let us help you. So we actually wrote the grant for that, and Evan just referenced the new compost toilet that's going in on the west rim of Sand Hollow. That one is even a little bit trickier because we had some debates of whether we can get it in there on a truck. So actually, the grant calls for being able to helicopter it in. So I mean, there's the joke. There's an app for that. We're firm believers. There's a grant for that. We'll find it. We'll figure it out. And like Evan said, maybe that's a state RTP grant. Maybe that's one of these industry partners that Evan referenced. Maybe it's Tread Lightly. The number of projects that through our membership and undesignated funds from industry partners that we've funded in the last year and a half is substantial. So we've made those efforts to do that. Just to kind of build on what those projects look like a little bit too, and I can expand on some of the work we're doing in other areas. Evan referenced kiosk. The positive that we have with the kiosk, we have a really great designer on our team that's now done kiosk in who knows how many states. He's really great at it. We can get those designed. We know the things that the Forest Service and BLM like to see on them or don't like to see on them. So we can get those usually handled pretty quickly. We can get them produced. We get them shipped to a location and we get them installed. We installed kiosks last year, Evan and I did in Arizona. Evan's just done Idaho. We did Florida at the end of last year. We've installed kiosks all over the place. And again, that's a key part of our educational program. The other thing that we've learned is, I won't say that not everybody reads, I'll just say that everybody learns differently. So like with kiosks, a lot of times you'll see icons, a lot of times you'll see copy and they might say the same thing, but we know that people take in information differently, so we've got pretty good research on how to put the stuff on kiosks to get people to pay attention to them. Evan referenced, protecting our cultural heritage. The project that we did at Easter Jeep Safari was on Cane Creek. If you've ever been down that trail in Moab, we were having some off-trail excursions into an area that's got petroglyphs and it was doing damage. So putting up fence there to protect the petroglyphs, but to keep the trail open, really important. We had 30 people that gave up a day of their Easter Jeep Safari to come out there and help with that project. We hauled 85 fence posts, 3.5 miles down Cane Creek, to get that work done. Down in Arizona, we did worm fencing in an area outside of Sedona, which is a very heavily impacted and traveled area. We put up almost 550 feet of worm fence in an area that had affectionately become known as the donut hole. It's where all of the UTV rental companies, their renters were going and doing donuts, and we were having issues with rollovers and that type of thing. So again, the fence kept the trail open. We just eliminated the potential issue that we were having, and we've had virtually no rollovers in that area since we were able to do that work. So again, like Evan said, all kinds of different work that's happening, but all designed to make sure that we're keeping trails open, so it's stuff that we can continue to enjoy.
Anything else, guys? Guys and gals, feel good about it?
Yeah.
All right. Appreciate you all. Thank you so much for having us. Hopefully be back soon and see you on the trail, right?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Evan. Thank you, Matt. We appreciate the information.
Hey, look, it's Bill. Hi, Bill.
If you say stand up, I'm going to come back there and thump you.
Stand up.
It's always something, always something. We're going to start off on kind of a somber note real quick. As the person standing at the front of this room, I'm responsible for what goes on. And there was an incident Saturday, and there's a failure on my part, so I need to apologize. The failure was we had some people show up late for our group. Not necessarily our fault, but they had quite the adventure. They didn't get to their lake until 7 p.m. and then they didn't get back to their homes till quite late. So that's a failure on my part, and I apologize. To fix that, Danny's going to cover some of the safety concerns that we're going to be addressing. And from this point forward, I'm going to continue to remind everybody that when we're leaving is when we're leaving, so that everyone's aware of it, and just do a better job at providing that information. Okay, so moving past that, Laura, get your tail up here. As you all know, next month is the Ride for Life, and as such, we need to give everybody an update. And rather than me try to speculate, it's going to come right from Laura. So here you go.
Thanks, boss. Okay, this year things are changed just a little bit, but for the better. We are going to start off with, right at this point, lists. Okay, these are just the grand prizes this year. Splash Summit, Purple, Frigidaire Freezer, Harris RV, Twila Valley Motorsports, Stedman's, Edge, Big Bubba's, Pister Pro, RV Defender, Dirt Hero, iDrive, Legacy RV, Moto United, Sound Warehouse, and Combustion. Those are all just grand prizes. With the KRX, we also have J&L Audio donated their stereo. Pro Audio is going to install the stereo, so that's also included in the KRX now. Okay, Friday night for the dinner, it is going to be catered by Simply Bliss. They're going to provide pulled pork sandwiches, Hawaiian mac salad, coleslaw, and cookies. Legacy RV is also coming out and providing us with more dessert. I'm not sure what it is yet.
More cookies. Cookies.
Saturday morning, we'll have coffee. Dunford is donating some donuts. And then Kyle and Alyssa will be doing their burritos. And then we have Saturday lunch with the hot dogs and chips. And then there's also going to be Cookies and popcorn to purchase also. When we arrive in Wendover, this is new. When we arrive in Wendover, there will be some Baja Ale sponsored by Salt Flat Brewery. And there'll also be water and some other stuff for the youngsters that don't drink, or the children, either one. So that will be provided. They're sponsoring us this year. And then we're going to be having this Sunday, like we had the breakfast like we had last year. The biscuits and gravy, eggs, the whole shebang. So this Friday is your last chance to sign up and guarantee that you're going to have shirts. So if you haven't signed up, I need you to get signed up. If you want a shirt, okay. If not, you can online until when? The Monday before the ride, you can sign up online. Monday will be the cutoff for the online registration. After that, it will be Saturday out there only. And there's no shirts, it's just what you get is what you get. So, cool, any questions? Who's excited? Hey, it's $95 no matter what, unless you're younger. But that doesn't count for any of you, so it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's $18 up to $99. If you can ride, it's $95.
There's a lot of us that are kids at heart, though.
That doesn't matter. You're still an adult. You still have to do it.
We're an adult, Bill.
No.
Well, that you're right. That is subjective. Yes. So some of us will never grow up. Who's up? You?
Hear that, Bill?
Okay, so there you have it, Ride for Life. Looking forward to it. As I already mentioned, we are doing things a lot differently this month because we don't have our ride coming up. We already had it. And short of what I've already mentioned, I think it was a fantastic ride. We'd like to thank Dave Peterson again for the delicious chicken. Quite the hit, Dave. Quite the hit. This week, instead of our normal ride like we discussed last month, we're trying to support Bees Hangout. This will be a nighttime poker run. The kickoff is 9 o'clock, and the last machine allowed out will be at 10:30. If you've never done a poker run before, they're quite fun. The trail will be well marked. There will be clubs along the way. Individual clubs that are sponsoring the event will be handling the poker stops. Somewhere along the route there will be a taco truck. Don't ask me, I don't know how they're getting a taco truck on the route. But tacos at midnight does not sound horrible. And then you'll just follow the route back to Bees Hangout, and then it'll be wrapped up from there. 23 miles? So it's a 23-mile loop. You should easily be able to do that on a tank of fuel, unless you start hot dogging it and having fun. That's on you. That's the ride coming up on Saturday. I'm going to turn the time over now to Danny to talk about some safety stuff.
I got to put my old man glasses on. I can't even read my own writing without them. Okay, I'd just like to tell Tread Lightly thank you guys. We really appreciate all the great info. And again, please stay off the dry vegetation. Your bike will instantly ignite that stuff. Please stay out of the vegetation.
Yeah, don't be an idiot.
First thing I want to go back over is the scheduled time for the ride. When we say the ride's leaving at 9 o'clock, we mean the ride is leaving at 9 o'clock. If you're late, sorry, but there's 50 other bikes that aren't late, and we need to maintain that schedule. So please try to make sure that you're to the staging area on time so that you can also participate in the driver's meeting. In that driver's meeting, it's your time to ask questions, figure all that stuff out. So please be early, be on time. In the same aspect, when we give you the pin drop, please be courteous with the trailer parking. We need to try to get everybody to stage in there so that we can get more people into the staging area, because it's just not working out. We're parking in the middle of the streets, we're driving off into places we shouldn't be. So please try to be courteous to everybody else that's coming in behind you. Questions with that? I don't wanna go through this too fast, so, if you're going to ride by yourself, it's always a good idea to have a second machine with you, just in case you do run into problems or situations. Maybe you get a flat tire, maybe you run out of fuel. If you can't carry extra fuel, maybe they have extra fuel. You know, try to plan your riding so that you can obtain fuel or bring extra fuel with you, because that's always a safety concern as well, especially in the hot, the way it is. Be careful with your extra fuel. We would like everybody to please participate in the RSVP on the rides. Please RSVP for the rides. That would mean how many people are going to be there. And the barbecue is a separate RSVP. So if you're bringing 4 people and you're going to stay for the barbecue, please RSVP along with the ride. Does everybody carry a GPS? Everybody check the maps? Does anybody do any research before you start riding? I would like to encourage everybody to maybe take a few extra minutes before your next ride. I'm not talking with the club, I'm talking if you go by yourself. Do a little extra investigating. Make sure that you know where you're riding, how you're going to ride it, your entry points, your exit points. We just want everybody to be safe. We don't want to have any issues, lose anybody. One of the things that we were asked that we should probably bring up is everybody wear their seat belts? Does everybody wear their harnesses?
You can stand up and listen.
You're in the machine, don't have seat belts or harnesses?
We didn't
Probably
fall out
should
of
be
their
wearing your
machine.
seatbelt and
Not
harness.
anymore. I do now.
We just encourage that. They're really comfortable after you get used to it. One of the other things that was brought up to us on Saturday, and again, I need to apologize, I wasn't there, my cabin got flooded out, I had to go deal with that. We need to make sure that everybody is aware that on club rides, we will not tolerate drinking on the ride. No alcohol at all. Okay? None. We don't tolerate that. No alcohol at all. You got plenty of time when you get back to your truck, do whatever you're gonna do. Nothing on the ride. Something new that we're gonna try as well. The tail gunner now on the end of the ride, when they're coming up to the person that we've staged to direct the people that are running down the trail, we're now gonna carry an orange flag. So that you can stay there until you see the orange flag to make sure that you're not leaving somebody else because you're not sure which machine's the tail gunner. Okay, so we're gonna have an orange flag for the tail gunner. Everybody knows that we've got ribbons, thanks to Dave Pedersen. Thank you, sir. So make sure that you're following the ribbon, and then we're also gonna have the orange flag for the tail gunner. I think that's about it. The stuff we need to bring up. Do we have any other helmets? Everybody in a side-by-side that brings children need to make sure that your children are in their DOT-approved car seats, seat belts, and if you're on an ATV, we do encourage helmet wear. I'm sorry? In a UTV? Anybody under 18 years of age on an ATV is required to wear a helmet.
Also a side-by-side.
No, not a side-by-side.
Under 18.
Type 2 vehicle, which falls under the same category as a car. So it doesn't require helmets, but it does require child.
Restraint. You have to have the child in a restraint, and or if they have to be in a car seat in a car, they have to be in a car seat in the rig, or whatever machine you're driving. It doesn't necessarily need to be a rig, but not a helmet.
To clarify that on that as well, when we stopped and asked an officer 2 years ago, just to make sure our kids were in properly, we asked about the aftermarket booster seats that some of the companies are making. Those are not acceptable.
They're not acceptable unless they're DOT approved. So a lot of the aftermarket car seats are just boosters, which are not DOT approved seating.
Okay.
But any car seat you go to
Yeah.
buy, car seats are completely legal. Those booster seats made by various companies that look really good and fit really nice into the seats, they're not DOT approved.
No, it has to be one that you would go to.
Exactly, it has to be a DOT approved booster
Yeah.
seat. Yeah, totally. Any other questions?
So when I arrived at Hardware Ranch, there was another group to our right, and I actually stopped and got out and was getting ready to undo my machine, and then I thought, well, maybe I better make sure this is the right group, and it was the wrong group.
It's probably a good thing
And
you check.
so, if there's two groups, could there be a suggestion that we get a machine with our flag, kind of where we were? The website said parked by the trailer was up the hill a bit.
The problem with Hardware Ranch is they didn't have any service up there to be able to post anything like that. But there were a couple of machines that did have their club member flags on it, so.
It wasn't until I saw Sue that I knew I was in the right spot.
There you
I'm sorry,
go.
because we were in that lower parking lot with our club sign, club flag, and I
Always
walked
look for
around
the
talking
club
to
flag,
everybody.
and depending on if I'm there or not, I do fly club flag off my trailer, so.
Board member flags.
Yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't there this weekend, I'm sorry, I apologize.
Just a suggestion.
All the board members had green board member flags on their machines at the parking lot.
Is there any new people here this weekend, today? Stand up and give us a little information, please.
I mean, she bought a jacket before she even read it.
At least
That ain't
give us your
gonna
name and
fly.
what you read.
My name is Deb, and I have a ATV. It's not a side-by-side. It's a
She's a four-wheeler woman.
Hey, welcome.
All
Glad
right.
to have you. Okay, so, we changed the raffle from the ride, or from the meeting to the ride. Now today we're gonna do our first award. It's the last award for the meeting, so our new award that'll come out in December will be for the ride. So, we're gonna have Brett come up and we're gonna do our raffles.
Come on, Brett! Shake it up,
This is
baby.
the room raffle.
Shake it up, baby. Come on, Steve. Dad. Oh. Pass those back, please.
Okay.
have you draw this. Okay. Got a lot of entries in there for 6 months.
Mix them up good. Pick a good one.
So that's one.
That's mine.
That's probably. Julia's plan. I'm not sure who that is.
Who?
Julia's plan.
Julia Gland.
Plan. They're new this year.
Okay.
Okay. We'll
Okay,
find
we'll
it.
see.
We'll catch up with her.
Does anybody have any questions or comments? Yes, Matt?
Right for like, getting up Friday, is there an RSVP online for that?
No, but I think we probably should do an RSVP online, so we will get that. But we'll make sure that that's up here, an RSVP for the Friday night dinner out at the restaurant.
You know, and the same thing, if you know RSVP for the ride and you can't make it, just reach out to a board member and let us know so we can deduct you from the account, please.
Especially on the food.
Don't be shy.
This last call for soccer tickets are filled, so they are one ticket is $5, 5 is $20, and every 50 you buy, you get one extra. And none of them are
This little girl has done this all by herself. This is for her Make-A-Wish packet. This is what she's donating. She got a smoker donated to her, and that's what she's doing is for Afghan outfit. It's a camp chef. So she will have the tickets back here at the table for sale, and it's a camp chef smoker or pellet smoker.
We have Pit Boss down in barbecue.
Just buy you a ticket.
They're down in, I can't remember the name.
Oh, there is a bunch of accessories being donated as well.
What's the name of the barbecue place you're donating?
Barbecue Pit and their sponsors.
Barbecue Pit and their sponsors, and they're actually doing over $1,000 worth.
Just go buy a damn ticket.
Okay, so we'll have September's ride for Tickaboo posted, hopefully by the end of the week. Sorry guys, we've all been a little busy.
You said Tickaboo, Teasdale.
Tickaboo stuff will be posted so that we can get hotel rooms taken care of. We're going to go down and try our free ride Teasdale at the end of the month. And we do have Tread Lightly pamphlets, stickers back here on the back table. I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. Great to see you all. Thank you.